Hi again then guys, and so we've got another Special Projects custom build for you today, and this time it's for something which, I don't know why I hadn't thought of it before, but it makes the perfect custom race car build. It's the BMW Z8, which is a car which confuses me on many levels, but we won't get into that at the moment. But basically I've turned it into, as you'll have seen from the title, an LM/touring car style setup, in the same fashion as the Polyphony Digital original racing cars, such as the TVR Tuscan Touring Car. Now this sits at the 575 pp level, so it actually technically makes a perfect rival for the Tuscan Touring Car. It's very similar in its shape, in its style, in its visual spec, and also actually in the way it drives, which is pretty cool. Plus, for those of you who do decide to use this tune, it may actually, as it will for me, certainly give you a use for a car which you don't otherwise use that much. I know personally I hardly ever use the BMW Z8, but this actually makes it into a decent, usable machine. So, first of all, I'll show you what I've done to get the visual look of the car, which is pretty simple, but we'll give it a quick run through anyway. Then, of course, we'll go over to the tuning garage for the mechanical setup, and finally take it out to the Nürburgring Ring to see how it compares as a racing car. So as far as the visual look on this particular model, I've gone for the Type A body kit. Now you do also have the option of a colour-coded, body-coloured body kit, which also looks pretty good, but I've just gone for the dark carbon colour because, again, it's more similar to the TVR Tuscan and the other Polyphony Digital original racing cars, so I just went for that. We do have the flat floor, which increases your PP and improves your handling. For the rear wing, I've gone for the very bottom wing, which is the special wing, which has a unique setup, which looks pretty good for this car, I think. Now, you do have the option of fitting it with the roof up at all times instead of down. That's completely down to personal preference. I can completely understand why someone would want the roof up. If it was a hard top conversion, then I would probably use it, but I don't really like the look of the rag top, to be honest. It looks kind of dumpy, so I've gone for the open top, kind of a Can-Am look. For the rims, I've gone for the inch up 2, and we've gone for BBS RE MG rims, which are similar to racing style rims in effect. I haven't fitted any additional meters on this one. Obviously you can if you want to, but they just don't really look right to me in this car because it has a very good looking interior, and I didn't really want to mess that up with tacky looking gauges. As far as the colour, obviously go for whatever colour you want. I've opted to go for something kind of nostalgic and recognisable for a BMW. I've gone for gold from the BMW M3 of the E46 shape, which is probably one of BMW's most loved colours, I would say, especially on the M3. It's Phoenix Gelb Metallic, which of course comes from the slightly older generation M3, the E46. And as far as the rims, we've gone for solid colours, and it is the solid glitched black paint, which I've mentioned before on the channel. I have done a video of how to get that if you want to check that out, but it's right at the bottom of the solid. It's red 764 from the Peugeot Vision GT car. And I've also gone for that colour for the brakes. We've gone for the number 49. I chose number 49 because of the engine capacity. But obviously go for whatever number you want, or no number at all. It's all down to you. You could also fit a carbon bonnet perhaps, but personally I don't think it really goes in with the look of the car. So that's it for the visual look overall. Now let's go over to the tuning garage for the mechanical setup. So, for the tune setup on this BMW Z8 LM, I've got the Racing Soft tyre setup. You don't have to do that, of course. For the suspension, we've got the ride height at the lowest, front and rear. Springs we've increased up to 925 and 1175. The dampers to 4, anti-roll to 5, camber on 2 with neutral toe. We'll come back to the gearbox in a second as usual. For the diff, you want the lowest initial torque, highest acceleration and a braking sensitivity. I've gone for 10. I'd recommend having it on either 5, 10 or 20, so you may want to try those three or your own complete number. You know, go for whatever you need. As far as power, As with some of my other racing builds, I like to get the red line up as high as possible, and it also allows you to have a higher PP for its power. So we've gone for the Stage 3 engine tune, sports computer, race exhaust, and the sports cat, which all increase your red line. The manifold and the intake do not though. Then we've reduced the power down to 94.2%, and as I said, this does have an oil change. You want the maximum downforce, which isn't that much, but thankfully it does handle pretty well anyway. And not quite the full weight loss package. You want the Stage 3 reduction and the window weight loss, but I've left the bonnet stock for two reasons. One, so we can get slightly more power in the PP level, and also because I don't actually like the look of the bonnet pins. I think with some cars it makes them look kind of cheap, so I've opted not to do that. But of course, if you want to, you can do that and reduce the power a little bit to make up for that. As far as the gearbox though, we've got an auto setting of 180, because obviously this is not a top speed tune. Even fully tuned, this car isn't that good for top speed. As far as the individual gears, we've got 4.1, 2.8, 2050, 1.6, 1.3 and 1.1, with a final drive of 2.8. So that's it for the mechanical setup at the 575 PP level. So now let's take it out finally to the Nürburgring Ring to see how it performs. Now, the funny thing is, overall, I'm actually not a fan of the BMW Z8. I think it's one of those cars which doesn't really know what it wants to be. It's way overpriced, doesn't really deliver on its power in terms of top speed. But, all that as it may, it makes a fantastic touring car. It's arguably the most perfect rival for the Tuscan Touring Car. It sits at the exact same kind of level, similar kind of power. It even handles and performs in a very similar way to the Tuscan. The handling on it is fantastic. The acceleration is more than good enough. The top speed is around 180, 190 as you'd expect, which is enough for most tracks. And on my first attempt, I got this car around the Nürburgring in around 6 minutes and 40 seconds. And as I've said on the channel before, I am far from being the best of drivers on here, so a better driver than me could easily get it down to 6:30, maybe even 6:20, so it certainly has potential. So for those of you who do use this tune, obviously I hope you find it fun and competitive, and if you'd like to keep up with tunes like this as soon as they're released, be sure to subscribe down below, and as always, thanks for watching.